Let it be known that the true light shines in every woman and man that cometh into the world. The true light that shineth in the darkness, but the darkness comprehendeth it not. Let us all within air of this true light fellowship hour bear witness to the true light within, that we may, like the real and living Messiah, Yahshua Christ, who many know today as Jesus Christ, pick up and bear our own cross, that we may be worthy of the Messiah by way of the Christ or Christ consciousness, known also as the first resurrection. And as we are now living in these times, let us all rise from our sleep and slumber and do the works of the Most High Heavenly One, this day and every day, as we say, Amun, 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 and Namastu, which simply means, I bow to the divinity in you. Well, Namastu again, and welcome to another Sunday service here at the Holy Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah. My name is Pastor Dr. Cleveland W. Eneas III. And as always, we begin by greeting our listening congregation, those who may hear this on the radio or Facebook or YouTube. We encourage you to come out to number 72 Meadow Street in historic Baintown any Sunday at 9 a.m. for our Sunday service, or any Wednesday at 7 p.m. for our True Light Fellowship and Bible study, whereby we have question and answer, and as we are a teaching church. And for those of you who did make it, again, I say Namastu. It simply means I bow to the divinity in each and every one of you. And Nefer Baka, which again simply means good morning. Well, today we are very happy to have with us our friends from the Bahamas Reparations Committee. And I'm very happy because this month coming up, February, is indeed, we don't just say Black History Month, but Black Holocaust Month. Because every month is Black History Month. A month? But on February, we really take the time to digest and review and understand what has happened to us. Everybody look at your neighbor and say, what has happened to me? I see that's what they just do on TV. So I ain't messing with y'all. But honestly, though, what has happened to us? You know, we live in a society today that would love to tell us that we should just move on, that we should just get on with our lives and stop this complaining, man. You know, stop this nonsense about reparations and stop this nonsense about slavery, and, you know, it happened. You know, deal with it. Yeah? But this is how we deal with it. We ain't letting no one off the hook. And today I'm going to talk about, as our sermon is entitled, Self-Reparations. Because ultimately, the first form of any type of reparations is self-reparations. Because in order for us to be in a position to receive any kind of reparations, we ourselves must be prepared. The ground must be plowed or tilled and must be in a position whereby any seeds of reparations that are going to be planted will be able to take root and grow in us. Otherwise, as the comedian Dave Chappelle said, they will give us money, if that's what people think this is all about, but if they give us money, we will buy Escalades and the newest iPhone and the newest iPod Pro, and we'll give it right back to them. Why? Because our minds are still programmed into being a consumer and into being dependent. But of course, we know reparations is much more than about money. And so I want to start out by just looking at, you know, how reparations was viewed biblically. And the reason why this is important is because the very people that run these societies and these nations, they swear an oath on the Bible, especially in this country. Put their hand on the Bible and they swear that they're going to do whatever they say they're going to do, right? And this is important because if you're swearing on the Bible, I mean, one would think that the reason why you're swearing on the Bible is because the Bible has some type of value to you. You understand? Or that you would not lie on something that is your foundation with regards to salvation, etc. You with me? So, biblically, of course, the word reparations is not there, but the word restitution is there. Amen? And so, as I was putting the sermon together, I'm just going to read what some of the Bible scholars have pulled out with regards to restitution. And it says, restitution is a biblical concept, and there are passages in both the Old and New Testaments that reveal the mind of God on this subject. In the Old Testament, the Israelites were under the law, which specified restitution in a variety of circumstances. So this is nothing new. The Israelites did it. It says, if a man steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it, he must pay back 5 head of cattle for the ox and 4 sheep for the sheep. A thief must certainly make restitution, but if he has nothing, he must be sold to pay for his theft. If the stolen animal is found alive in his possession, whether, ox or donkey or sheep, he must pay back double. So if you steal one, you got to go find the next one to give the people, according to the law. If a man grazes his livestock in a field or vineyard and lets them stray and they graze in another man's field, he must make restitution from the best of his own field or vineyard. If a fire breaks out and spreads into thorn bushes so that it burns shocks of grain or standing grain or the whole field, the one who started the fire must make restitution. If a man borrows an animal from his neighbor and it is injured or dies, he must make what? Restitution. You see these things in the book of Exodus, chapter 22, verse 1, verses 3 through 6 and 14. For those who may want to look it up, I can guide you on that. Namaste, my brother. Then in Leviticus 6, 2 and 5, it covers other situations in which the stolen property is restored, plus 1/5 and the value. It reads, Leviticus chapter 6, if you want to go there, Leviticus chapter 6, verses 2 and through 5. If anyone sins and commits a breach of faith against the Lord by deceiving his neighbor in a matter of deposit or security, or through a robbery, or if he has oppressed his neighbor. If he has oppressed his neighbor, or has found something lost and has lied about it. I know you find something lost and lie about it. That's a tricky one. You mean like how they found like all lost books of the Bible? And then decided to give it back to us as the King James Version, etc. But it says, if you or has found something lost and lied about it, swearing falsely in any of all the things that people do and sin thereby. If he has sinned and has realized his guilt, now this is one of the biggest problems we have with regards to reparations. We're not dealing with the people that has a conscience. That's right. So there's no conscience to prick. You can't talk to them about what happened to you, but what about the Jews, and what about the Japanese, and what about this one, and what about that one? As far as they're concerned, you need to just be happy that you are able to live and be like us. Yeah. Amen? Amen. But if he has sinned and has realized his guilt and will restore what he took by robbery or what he got by oppression, or the deposit that was committed to him, or the lost thing that he found, or anything about which he has sworn falsely, he shall restore it in full, and shall add 1/5 to it, and give it to him to whom it belongs on the day he realizes his guilt. And that's the loophole in that.
You gotta realize the guilt.
I don't feel guilty, so I ain't paying you nothing. You know what? Now it says, also of a note, in this passage, the restitution was made to the owner of the property, not to any government or any third party. Now, of course, in our situation as regards the Holocaust of the African, that's a little difficult to do with regards to, lining up and figuring out, which family did you come from and how long were you all enslaved. So that's not even practical. And the compensation was to be accompanied by a guilt offering to the Lord. The Mosaic law then protected victims of theft, extortion, fraud, and negligence by requiring the offending parties to make restitution. The amount of remuneration varied anywhere from 100 to 500% of the loss. From 100 to 500%. I wouldn't say I was guilty either. Because they know this. They know this. They have taught us to accept the Bible as the Word of God. And when we show them the Bible, that is the Word of God, they don't want to listen to that part. They say, but you know what? That was the Old Testament, my brother. Mm-hmm. Jesus came and died for our sins, and now there's a what? New Testament, man. I say, well, tithing in the Old Testament. Y'all realize that, right? Y'all carry tithing over. I'm going to leave restitution in the Bible. Huh? Ain't right? The restitution was to be made on the same day that the guilty one brought his sacrifice before the Lord, which implies that making amends with one's neighbor is just as important as making peace with God. So, this idea then of being forgiven is a malicious distortion of the words of the Most High with regards to I can do what I want to do to you for a day or for centuries, and because I changed my life, you must just forgive me. I don't be any program like that. You understand? Don't blame me, blame God. Because I ain't programmed like that. See, you can't slap me and tell me that dead. That's how you walk. Bang! That dead, bro. Let that dead. I can tell you when that dead.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? If I feel like dealing with you, that's what you got to deal with. Either that day or the day get you slipping. Right. That's a different type of church. Yeah. I ain't turning no other cheek. You understand what I'm saying? You can see this cheek. It's the only cheek you can see. You understand? Because we ain't teaching people to let nobody beat up on them. Because that is not what happened in the Bible. See, now, if Jesus was just walking around getting slapped and turning out a cheek, I'd be like, that's deep. That's deep. That's what he wants to do. They must see they used to slap hard back then. But apparently they did slap hard back then. Because I ain't never read a voice where he got slapped and turned out a cheek. Matter of fact, they used to buy shit rock back then. And what Jesus used to do? Jesus used to hold his head up and get boys, right? And then turn. No, he used to what? Run! So why they teaching you to take blows? And then after you take blows, forgive you? Who gave us this doctrine of going to the victim and making sure that the victim forgives the person who's doing the crimes? Who did that to us? Why are you preaching to me? Why you ain't preaching to the people who done victimized people for years and years and years? Well, racism is dead. Really? Well, he's a vampire then. He's a zombie because he's still walking around. I speak in your language, man. I reading your language. I dealing with your institutions. I have to process my whole thought process has to go through the framework that you put in place in order to enslave me, and then you step back and tell me, well, it's over. Which is quite nonsensical. See, because if 1834 was emancipation, then what was 1967? What was 1973? What was the need for it? If 1834 I was free, but of course emancipation don't mean free.
That's right.
What does emancipation mean? Transferred as property. Oh, okay. When you put it that way. So we find one in the New Testament too then. In the New Testament, we have a wonderful example of Zacchaeus in Luke chapter 19. Many of you may have heard this story before. Jesus is visiting Zacchaeus' home, and the people who know the chief publican to be a wicked and oppressive man are beginning to murmur about his associations with a sinner. And this is around verse 7. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save what was lost." So in other words, this is why I'm speaking to the publican or the tax collector, because he's the one who's cheating you out of everything that you've rightfully earned. I'm not going to sit amongst those and preach to the choir. I need to go and speak to those who actually, sorry, which word you say? This is Luke 19. We're around verse 7. Okay, this is just a paraphrase of the story for the sake of time. It says, around verse 7 through 10. It says, "From Zacharias' words, we gather that 1, he had been guilty of defrauding people." Sounds familiar. 2, he was remorseful over his past actions. Does not sound familiar.
No.
3, he was committed to making restitution. Does not sound familiar. From Jesus' words, we understand that 1, Zacharias was saved that day and his sin was forgiven. And 2, the evidence of his salvation was both his public confession, which I don't believe in that. That's a bunch of foolishness. You must come and tell. I don't want to know your business. I different. I may look at you different. You did what? Twice? That's not necessary. That public confession, that's something that the Greco-Romans brought in. You understand? Because I ain't God. You understand? I'm a child of the Most High. We are gods insofar as we are made in the image and after the likeness of God, but we are children of the Most High. So in the Holy Qubtic Church, you don't come and tell me all your business. You understand? As we can explain when it comes to restitution. And so it says, Zacchaeus repented, and his sincerity was evident in his immediate desire to make restitution. Here was a man who was penitent or sorrowful and contrite, and the proof of his conversion to Christ was his resolve to atone as much as for his past sins. So Jesus didn't sit with Zacchaeus and say, "Now, you know you're being thief and the people money." You know what I'm saying? Now, they didn't say what the conversation was. Now, of course, wasn't no guns back then, but Jesus might have put his whip on the table. You know? So Zacchaeus. It's letting you know we got like 12 other dudes outside. And we know you got the money. But when you put it like that, Jesus, I'm going to give half. You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
But again, this is in the New Testament, and it wasn't a matter of Zacchaeus, you've been forgiven. You understand? You keep everything and you're forgiven. And the people that you've robbed from, who you've stolen from, they're your brothers and sisters now, and now you can parade amongst them as if you're one of them while you still have their money. That's not what happened. And so, biblically then, there's no real, and then they have references of Paul, and they have references of others who make it seem as if we're just supposed to forgive and forget. But we don't see Yahshua doing that. You understand? And he was the example. You understand? And so, the reality then is, in the Holy Coptic Church, we understand that the King James Version or the New International Version and all of these different versions of the Bible are just that. They're versions. Men came in and they tampered with the original understanding of the scriptures. Which is why in the Holy Qubtic Church, we don't have a problem with the Bible. Our problem is the way the Bible has been interpreted and translated and the way it's being taught. That's our problem. And so the reality then is the reparations that we all must pay, or the restitution that we all must make. As in the Holy Qubtic Church, restitution is one of our 9 Qubtic rites. In the Catholic Church, they call it confession. Okay? And before we get into the original books of the Bible, this particular parchment is an introduction to the Qubtic rite of restitution. And on page 17, the question is, well, what is restitution? The etymological meaning of the word restitution comes from the Latin restitution, a restoring, from restitutus, restore, rebuild, replace, from re, again, and stature, to set up, to amend, fine, or penalty. As such, the word restitution represents compensation, reimbursement, amendment, and repayment, simply a means of gaining atonement. So, for my family from the Bahamas Reparations Committee, you are the agents of the Most High. Because you're giving people an opportunity to atone. And I wanted to make this point, as I haven't admittedly been able to follow everything that you've been doing. But one of the things I would hope that you would share with the world as you go forth in this divine mission is that you make it clear that this is not just about us.
That's right.
This is not just about what we're going to receive. This is what everybody is going to receive. Because as we receive what is justly due to us, which is not just money, because you can't put a price on this thing.
That's right.
You understand? We are allowing those, because there are some people who say, well, I feel bad for what my ancestors did. And if you feel that bad, then you should want to atone. But how do you atone? You should at least sit with the people who've been offended. That's a good place to start. Amen? And figure out what happened to us. Because we don't even know what happened to us. You understand? We woke up in the hospital with some tubes inside us, and they calling us a different name.
That's right.
Charles, are you awake, Charles? Who's Charles?
That's right.
You're Charles. Oh. Okay. And so we've been walking through life, knowing our name, in my case is Anku, and people calling us Charles, and we can say, hey, what's it? How you doing? But I know my name ain't Charles. You understand? And I gotta keep telling myself, well, if I don't answer the Charles, then they ain't gonna feed me, and they ain't gonna make sure that I clothe, and so I gotta keep walking around saying I'm Charles, but I know deep inside of me, I'm Anku, or I'm somebody that they're refusing to call me. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And so this reality of restitution, it says each member of humanity can receive of the Qubtic rite of restitution by way of 3 main elements: transformation, admission, and joy in clearing oneself of a guilty conscience. So let's go through them. Transformation. Admission. And joy in clearing oneself of a guilty conscience. So the reality of the situation is then that we, as the so-called black man and black woman, the Nubian, Melanite, male and female, have a responsibility not only to ourselves, but the wider community, insofar as what our job is to indeed bring balance to our communities, to our country, and ultimately the world. Because many people have skewed this reality of reparations or restitution and made it seem as if these are some people hustling. You understand? Trying to figure out how you can get a check. You understand what I'm saying? Trying to figure out. I mean, they did the same thing with what's it called in America? Where if you apply and everybody had the same standards, the black person might get in. Affirmative action, right? Okay, but when they talk about affirmative action, they never put it in its proper context. It's just about you people, you people, you're taking our spaces in school, even if we're smarter than you. You ain't smarter than us, number one. You understand? Because we teaching our children to have a chip on their shoulder. You understand? When you go out there, you're going to be better than everybody. And if the person don't look like you, you can be twice as better than them.
That's right.
Figure that out. Twice as better than them. Oh, that's racism. That ain't racism. That's exactly what everybody else is telling their children. Mm-hmm. And you think they sit around and say, now everybody's equal now. Make sure you treat all of the black little children equal. He said, you better make sure you keep your foot on his neck. Because you see what happens? See LeBron James. See how he took over basketball. See Tiger Woods. See how they come and take over golf. See some Venus girls. They didn't run out of their opponents. They just beat each other now. And they trying to figure out who the first place trophy, which house is going to. You know, they put them in the same bracket now. Yeah, we'll make sure they eliminate each other. You understand? And I'm not telling you these things just based on what I've read. And all of you, many of you in here, would have experienced it. When I was in boarding school, and my father first took me up just to look at the school, the gentleman who was taking us around the school, he didn't mean no harm. He wasn't a racist man. But he looked at this little black boy from the Bahamas. He said, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And so I look at him and I'm like, yeah, we good. You know what I'm saying? We can handle it. And I went over there and I handled it. I didn't just want to be in the class making sure I pass. I was in the American history class, number one in the class, to the point where the teacher had to stop the class and say, how'd you let this young man from the Bahamas come here and beat all of you in your own country in American history?
Oh, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And I say all these things because we as a people have been so offended and for so long that we feel that it's something that we're supposed to accept. We feel that it's something that is supposed to just happen to us because it's always been that way. But it hasn't always been that way. If we go to the original books of the Bible now, the book is book number 10, the book of the Divine Principles of Ma'at, which is universal order and the balancement of deeds. Now this is crucial for us to digest, page 190, starting at verse 1. As we write, because we are a teaching church, as you see all the books we have for sale and for you to look at after the service, we want you to understand that the Greco-Roman Church, whether it's the Greek Orthodox or the Roman Catholic Church or the King James, the Anglican Church, right? They're not that smart. I'm not saying it because they ain't black. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it based on research, hardcore research. Everything that they do in the church today, they bleached it. That's all they did. You understand? That's why some people come in and say, oh, this just feel like the Catholic Mass. Well, where did the Catholic Mass come from? From the Litany of Ray. Now, they ain't going to teach you about the Litany of Ray, but they in the Vatican studying it, though.
That's right.
You understand? They ain't going to teach you about the laws, the true law. See, you can't say in Acts chapter 7, right, that Moses was learned in all of the ways of the Egyptians. Then attribute the law to Moses and not figure out that these laws must be the same laws that the Egyptians had. Well, which laws did the Egyptians have? the laws of Ma'at.
That's right.
You understand? I was speaking with some people about a year ago, and we were talking about morality, and they made the statement, yes, the African people brought morality to all cultures and all civilizations. We civilized this planet. How could you say that? That's blasphemy. One person even dared to say, prove it. I said, well, it's simple. Show me a card that don't have this.
Every card.
Show me a card that don't have the scales of Ma'at. Now, they may call it the scales of Ma'at because they don't know it's the scales of Ma'at. Huh? But these scales represent balance. These scales represent justice. These scales represent order. These are your laws.
That's right.
And people who didn't have any type of laws are now standing over us and telling us that we need to figure out how to get ourselves back in order. Well, when you're addicted to white supremacy, you may do some things that is outside yourself. You understand? And I'm not using that word in an abstract way. I'm using that word based on how our scholars, Dr. Neely Fuller Jr., look these people up, because they will tell you that racism is a virus. There's a pathology to it. Dr. Francis Cress Welton, you understand? The ISIS papers. These are things that we need to be educated about so that we understand what we're up against. Racism is not, when I went in the restaurant, they served me last. That ain't racism. That's some residual symptoms of racism. Racism is about control. Racism, as Dr. Francis Cress Welton has shared with us, is about genetic survival.
That's right.
You look at anybody out there who's crying racism, and you just do a little research to try to understand why they've done what they've done. It all goes back to genetic survival. Because what CNN and what scientists and what many out there who are actually investigating what is going on in our country is telling us is that the so-called white man and white woman is at a negative birth rate. We didn't do that. That means they're dying quicker than they're having children. So you can't be saying that the planet is overpopulated, but you still have fertility clinics? All fertility clinics should be shut down if the planet is overpopulated. But you got abortion clinics in black communities around the world, right? And we don't need no fertility clinics in our community. My wife looking at me too hard because...
Let me go read.
What happened? You was holding my hand too long yesterday.
That's right.
You understand? And so I say all of that to say that we as a people had these laws known as Ma'at, which is universal order and the balancement of deeds. And it is only by way of we who are the children of the original books of the Bible, the original people of the planet. And let us be clear. They don't just mean only blue-black people. Because I am blue-black. You understand what I'm saying? We are, just as you see in this room today, a beautiful garden. Beautiful garden. You understand? Race is first of all, that's a myth. There's no such thing as race. That's a cute word that they use. When I went to Tuskegee and I took my first genetics class, I had a teacher, Dr. Richardson. He said, now the first thing we're going to get clear is we don't discuss race in this class. I said, genetics? No. We don't have race in genetics. And that was my first introduction to the reality of, so this is a social construct. They have literally made us look at each other and decide because you look lighter than me or darker than me that we different. That's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Most ridiculous. Because they got white people fighting just as hard or harder for reparations than some black people. Than most black people. Because we don't even think we deserve it. I'm with you, my brother. Page 190, verse 1. Lo, which is to say, behold, an amazing thing, the guardian angelic host that are students of Tahuti, namely Mikael, recorder of the guardian angelic host, and Gabriel, voice of the guardian angelic host, did speak forth to all members of humanity concerning the divine principles of Ma'at. And this is what was said. O humanity, children of An-Nere. When we say An-Nere, that is the term that we use for the mother, father God, the most high heavenly one, right? Children of An-Nere, you have cried out in your supplications many sunlit days and moon-reflective shadow hours, seeking to know those things which humanity should avoid. And as such, it is important that you be made aware of aforetime when we, the guardian angelic host, did gather to present ourselves before the throne of the heavenly one. You see this in the book of Job, chapter 1, where they say the sons of God came to God and the devil was with them. Yes? We presented ourselves before the throne of the heavenly one at the great Kanisa, or church, of Dendera, located in Armana, with the chapel of Asaru, the original sacrificial shepherd. So we did have churches. We didn't say church, we said Kanisa. You understand? And the place that we had these churches, one of them was in a place called Armana. Everybody say Armana. This Armana, when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls in Qumran and other places, the Dead Sea Scrolls is also a map. This is why they're not releasing much of it, because they want to find the treasure and act like it was always theirs. But as they go around Jerusalem, what they're finding is that the map is not leading them anywhere. Because the city that they call Jerusalem today is not the original Jerusalem.
That's right.
It's not. The original Jerusalem was actually Jerusalem. This Jerusalem was a city that was actually built by one known as Anku Sa Ra. Or Akhenaten is what you may find when you do the research. You may not find that on Google, right? And so the reality then is that this city is where Christianity as we know it today, as well as Judaism and Islam, was birthed out of. This city known as Armana, which they destroyed because they never wanted us to figure out what our past and where our roots were embedded with regards to monotheism. What they call monotheism was originally called atonism. And so back into the original books of the Bible, we had this chapel of Asaru, which is the original sacrificial shepherd. It says, during that great day and time, we were given basic commandments of true conscious morality and true religious identity, which in time we were instructed to pass on to humanity, so that none be restrained from merging with An-Nere. None be restrained from merging with the Most High Heavenly One. That is what, as agents of the Most High, that's what the Reparations Committee is. Agents of the Most High, allowing for those who have done an atrocious thing to do what? Merge with the Most High. And this is how this needs to be a part of the message that we give to people, because we keep hearing this, well, y'all just want money and y'all just want. It's like, no, this is about you too. You must be allowed to merge and become one with the Most High. You must be allowed to balance your scales. You understand? That's in part what reparation is. It says these basic commandments of true conscious morality are such that if you embrace them with your mind, your heart, and all your strength and power, you shall be able to avoid many traps, which often leads to the downfall of many members of humanity. Thereby, it is important that you uphold the true and balanced ways of your angelic genealogy by safeguarding the rights of the true and first faith of all humanity, which is atonism. Say atonism. Atonism. Say at-one-ism. At-one-ism. I and the Father are one. That's what Yahshua taught. That's right. He was teaching what was taught to him, which was taught to those by their parents, which was taught to them by their parents. We see this in the book of Psalm 78. Because this is where our country, for the most part, is gone wrong. We stopped teaching certain values from generation to generation. And so you now have about 2 or 3 generations that never got manners.
That's right.
That never got some basic good morning. No, you can't shoot people. Oh, so we didn't tell you that? Sorry about that. Let's put the gun down. You know what I'm saying? You stabbing people again? No, you don't do that. Right? Psalm 78, we're going to read the first 8 verses. It says, give ear, asma, hear and listen. Give ear, O my people, to my what? Bible. That's what it say? What y'all say? Or y'all say law. Oh, so there's a law we're supposed to be paying attention to. Not just holding up the Bible? You mean you ain't just supposed to walk around holding this up and telling people this is what you read, this is what you read, this is what you read, this is what you read? Huh? There's a law? Oh. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. What is this speaking? What is that? Oh, this person of a mouth. He said, that's God talking. What's a God of a mouth? So he ain't no spoke then. Oh, okay. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. So the children are not just supposed to figure it out. They often say, well, you know, children ain't born with instructions. How many people have heard that?
Many times.
Yeah? And for many people that's true. But the reality is, children should have been born with instructions. The instructions should have been passed down from generation to generation. This is why we had rite of passage. You didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm 18, I'm a man now, I'm a woman now. You went through rites. And you had to pass through those rites.
That's right.
In order to be considered an adult in the community. Otherwise, when we eat to the big table, you sit your backside with the children.
That's right.
Because you didn't want to sit. You didn't want to do what adults do. And that's the problem. We got a lot of, because we've been uprooted through slavery and through colonialization and neo-colonialization and all these different things. We've been uprooted from who we are, and so we can't even tell the story to our children no more. You understand? So it goes on to say, verse 4, we will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praises of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he hath done. For he established a testimony in Jacob, because Jacob was fighting with his angel. See, when you get beat dead by it, you got to say his angel. Because it started out as he was a man. And after he told that cut up, who beat you, babe? An angel, babe. Flicking angel come out of nowhere and body slam me, babe. So that was his testimony. But it says, and appointed a law in Israel. His name was changed. Which means now he had to live up to a higher standard. You see? So we can't just be walking around there calling each other nigger. See, because nigger represents a standard whereby we're mentally dead.
That's right.
So I could go all over the place and pick up all kind of girls and don't take care of my job. Why? Because I is a nigga. We is niggas. You know what I'm saying? We is niggas. So that's how we run.
Yeah.
You driving around and when we got, when I run out of gas, we get around and get Shelly car, and Shelly car run out of gas. We get my other boy, you got it, but we got. Because we is niggas. So there's an accountability with us knowing who we are. It says, and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to what? To who?
Children.
Their children. That the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare to them, to who? To their children, that they might set their hope in this word. They say God here in the English, with 430 is Elohim, or Nataru Elohim. It says, that they may set their hope in Elohim, or Nataru Elohim, and not forget the works of El or An-Nere, but keep his commandments, and might not be as their fathers. See, this is where we are today. a stubborn and rebellious generation. Because we got it all figured out. You understand? Hey, might be in the London bars talking about, I don't talk like you anymore. I always speak the Queen's English.
Yeah.
Like the Queen jacking for you. Like the Queen even know you. Queen's honest. Man, you think the Queen is doing that? Ain't doing no honest pops. Hey, I respect Charles Carter like a father. Queen don't know him.
That's right.
She ain't one night now. Anyway, I can be here because some other people get knighted in the day, and I'll be like, what? Anyway, so, and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with God. So, I always say, I am not interested in attacking our leaders, because they are victims too. You understand? None of us could say what we would do if we were in their shoes. The perks must be really good. That's all I can say. Because that ain't no easy work. Making hard decisions for people and keep going back to do that. I always say, running a nation, you should have a pool, just like jury duty. You understand? And once you meet a certain criteria, you in that pool. Hey, you're 5 years up. Hey, we can need you for that. Hey, we can. And you go, man, you may gotta leave my practice. You ain't gotta leave it, but I just need you to do. If that's how we run our nation, I think we could get a lot. Because you would be interested in doing what's best for the nation and then getting on with your work. You know, a career politician, I don't know. I'm not saying people in there don't sincerely care for their constituents or care for the Bahamas. I'm not in their heart. But all I could say is, we can only judge by the results. And the results ain't good right now. Exactly. Right? And so, Yahshua then would have learned about restitution. He would have learned about Ma'at. Because someone would have told him. And so, again, part of the mission of those who are seeking reparations outside of money is to make sure that there is a, what's the word I want? An infrastructure for us to be able to tell our children and their children and their children and their children. We should never stop telling our story. You understand? If that's the one thing we learned from the Jews, they don't stop telling their story. And the woman come here the other day, Hilton to show everybody Schindler's List. And we right there lining up. Oh, this part. That's the Jews, eh? Oh, okay. And ain't nothing wrong with that. As long as after Schindler's List, we watching Roots. No, you can. We got plenty more popcorn. Come sit down, man. Yeah, man. We had a story before your story. You understand? Since you said we doing story time. You understand what I'm saying? And so we moved into the book of Revelation. Now, the book of Revelation is a ancient African book. Many people don't know that there are portions of the book of Revelation that was actually found in the tomb of Ramesses, as well as who they call King Tut. Okay? These portions of this book. Now, we have, I don't have it here today, but we do have the African perspective or the African version of Revelation, whereby we guide you as to which portions of the book of Revelation came from where. Because again, they did not create anything. They took all of our things and bleached it. Which is why they would say, well, this is called the Apocrypha. They have different names for it. But Revelation 22, starting at verse 7, it says, "Behold, I come quickly." This is the red writing. Yes, this is. This is the book here, the book of Revelation from an African perspective, right? But why am I saying this is the red writing? You know, on certain temples, as they would refer to it, there's actually red writing when Amun is speaking. Did you know that? That's why they say Jesus writing in red. They didn't create anything. The writing is in red on the wall. They say read the writing on the wall. It was red. That's why they put it red for Jesus. And I can explain to you why they put it red for Jesus. Because this Jesus wasn't Jesus. Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book, not the Bible, of Revelation, of the Istangil, which ultimately is a word means salvation. Because if you follow what is being said to you in this book, you would receive salvation. You understand? And so it goes on to say, and I, John, saw these things and heard them. And when I had heard and seen, I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel, which showed me these things. So he was being guided by an angel, and the angel was showing him things, and he was, wow, his first instinct was to worship. What does the angel say? Then saith he unto me, see thou do it not. Wash get up, man. Says, for I am thy fellow servant. Me and you alike. You understand? You're an angel too. All of you are angels. What's the word angel mean? Messenger. The Reparation Committee has a message. So how are you not angels? Huh? How are you not agents of the Most High?
Come on.
Guiding the planet towards Ma'at. That's what you're doing.
That's right.
Amun? It goes on to say, then saith he unto me, see thou do it not, for I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren the prophets, and of them which keep the sayings of this book. Worship God. Worship Anku. Don't worship me. You understand? Do you know that this is the same thing that Jesus said to people as they were trying to worship him? Do you know that Jesus wasn't perfect? Do you know that Jesus didn't call himself good? Go to the book of Matthew, chapter 19. It's important that we share these things because, unfortunately, the context has been so misconstrued that we don't know our head from our foot. Matthew 19, let's start at verse 16. Matthew 19, verse 16. Then we'll go back to Revelation as we wrap up. It says, and behold, one came and said unto him, good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? And he said unto him, why callest thou me good? It's the red right now. There is none good but one. That is God. That is the most high heavenly one. But if thou wilt enter unto life, keep the what?
Commandments.
Not if thou wilt enter unto life, just say this little prayer. Lord Jesus, come into my heart. Show me that in the Bible. See, because that's what we got to get right now. We children dying, women dying, men dying, we broke. I need you all to start showing me these things in the Bible, please. Because other than that, you're all talking foolishness. And we don't have time for it. So back to Revelation. So the same thing that this angel was telling to John is the same thing Yahshua was telling the people who was asking him about eternal life. In other words, I'm not the one that's taking you to heaven. I'm the one that's guiding you. Nobody can win a championship for you. Nobody can win a gold medal for you, and nobody can take you to heaven. You could follow, you could understand, oh man, I'm really good at the 100 meters. And so I better pay attention to Usain Bolt and Johan Blake and some of the faster runners to figure out, like how do you eat? How do you train? What y'all train every day? Or Sundays off? Okay, writing all this stuff down. Why? So I could implement it into my life. That's what Yahshua was saying. If you follow these rights, these commandments, these laws, then you too will have access not unto me, not to Yahshua, but the Karast consciousness. Everybody say that. Karast consciousness. See, don't tell me that Jesus was perfect and he walked the earth, but Jesus was baptized. Because what's baptism for? Remission of sins. So that means he had sin. Well, that was just for show. What was the point? He was guiding you. Listen, I have to do these things, and I'm showing you how to do it so that you too can do it. I'm not perfect, but I was. They say he was made perfect in the book of Hebrews chapter 5, if you want to read it. And so it goes on to say then in Revelation, it says, verse 10, and he saith unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. And he that is unjust, let him be unjust still. Stay out of people's business. You ain't the savior. People doing foolishness, all you can do is be the best example you can be. He which is filthy, let him what? Be filthy still.
That's right.
Sound a little rosterish, you know.
Yeah,
Still. He that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. It says, verse 12, and behold, again, what? I come where? Quickly. And my reward is with me, to give every man according to his work shall be. Is that not reparations?
That's right.
Is that not restitution?
That's right.
Is that not whatever you put out there is going to be coming back to you?
That's right.
Because that's ultimately what ma'at, restitution, reparations is all about.
Reap what you sow.
Reap what you sow.
That's right.
And this is why we said from the beginning, it has to start with self-reparations. You have to get yourself in order. Because in getting yourself in order, it prepares you for anything good, if you want to call it that you're supposed to receive. Because there are people who will tell you, right at the point when everything just supposed to be beautiful, and then, oh man, we got the contract signed, and boy, we about to be rolling, all them little deeds, what you been doing, this how they be.
Remember me?
Boss. Okay, contract you just signed, you owe me some money.
That's right.
And you trying to figure out, man, how come I'm always downhill? I'm always, things are always not going the way I planned it to be. It's because you haven't sat down long enough to examine your misdeeds and to try to what? Balance them out. Every deed you cannot balance out directly. In other words, you can't unsleep with someone's wife. I demand you to unsleep with her now. Don't work that way. You could break up a family. How do you balance your deeds? Well, now you better go down to, if they have counseling shelters or places where people with broken homes go, you need to put some money into that. You need to put some time into that. You got to help to build some other families because you destroyed that family. You can't unkill somebody. But if you kill somebody's father or mother, that's your child.
That's right.
Huh? You better put them through college. No, you go to jail for life. No, your jail is taking care of this child for life. Your backside going to work, and every cent you make to take care of this child. You understand? That's restitution, not sitting up in jail learning how to do more foolishness. You understand? And so at the end of the day then, as the Holy Qubtic Church celebrates the work of the Reparations Committee, we say that we must all celebrate in seeking restitution for ourselves, because that's what's going to make the work of the Reparations Committee that much more easy. Because if we have ourselves, we ain't into this blaming the government, blaming the white man, blaming whoever you want to blame. That's for the birds. If we have ourselves together and we have institutions in place whereby when the reparations comes through, we can understand, okay, well, who now are we going to assist? Let's assist those that are already assisting our people. Let's make sure that people don't have to spend so much money on education. If it's not free, it should be minimal at best. You understand? So that those who actually are going to work and get themselves prepared for what's coming will have an opportunity. We have some genius people in what we call the ghetto. That's why we say historic Bay in town. This ain't no ghetto. That's a German word. That's what they used to do with the Jews. That ain't us. But if I see a little boy pop into the middle of traffic with no front wheel, my God, you can't tell me that's a genius? No front wheel, you know. That's commitment.
Yes. Yeah.
I ain't bringing this down, boss. Fixed wheel too. You know what I mean? No brakes. You know what I mean? And that's what, when we watching them and we saying, y'all get out the road. But you ain't been no sidewalks, so we get out the road. You get out the road, you ain't been no sidewalks. And that's when you talk to people in these communities, they'll tell you, man, we want to do better. You think we ain't want to do better? You think we ain't want work? But if my children hungry and they gotta eat, well, and that's the thing about crime. It goes both ways. In one direction, it's called crime. And the other direction is called policy.
Policy is like.
But some of these policy is crime.
That's right. Need that.
Huh? You trying to squeeze blood out of a rock by giving people VAT. But then we don't know where the VAT money going. Something wrong with that.
That's right.
Something wrong with that. See, and I have to warn the leaders now. Because my art is real. Mm-hmm. And what you put out there has to come back.
That's right.
If not to you, to your lineage.
Mm-hmm.
So you might die happy, but what hell have you left for your children?
That's right.
And so we wrap up today by saying that, again, restitution is the ability for us to restore ourselves. We restore ourselves by seeking out the original documents. When we say the original books of the Bible, we're not talking about some book we just found. We're talking about the Shabaka stone. We're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls. We're talking about the Gilgamesh epics. We're talking about the Atrahasis. These things that they have put, this is the Zondervan King James Bible. They are admitting that that's where the Bible came from. At the beginning of this, and I have to always show people that have never been in here before, the reality is ancient texts relating to the Old Testament, major representative examples of the ancient Near Eastern non-biblical documents that provide parallels to or shed light on various Old Testament passages. And they give you 2 pages of tablets, of scrolls, that they say sheds light on the Old Testament. Well, why is it shedding so much light? Because that's where you got it from in the first place. That's reparations. Give me my books back. The Shabaka stone is sitting in the British Museum. Mm-hmm. So we ain't talking about some abstract rock that you got. This ain't the tablets of Moroni. The gold-plated tablets that Joseph Smith found. Where are they? Huh? When you go to the museum, and I tell people like crazy, I go to the museum, I want to see the Bible section. I want to see Moses' slippers. I don't want to see no book. Huh? I want to show me a piece of manna. Huh? Show me the 10 Commandments. I go to the Louvre, I go to the British Museum, that's the type of questions I ask you. So I understand that Moses had like a staff with snakes on it. I want to see, y'all find that? Let me see that. Let me show me the Noah's Ark section. Okay, that's a small thing. Show me the Noah's Ark section. That's a big boat. To every animal. Oh, y'all don't have that? Show me one rock from Solomon's temple then. At least one rock. You ain't got, obviously, because there's movable temples, you know. Brick by brick. So y'all got one room from Solomon's temple? Oh, y'all ain't? No? Y'all don't have that either. Huh?
I don't know.
Either?
You get it.
Oh, okay.
Next time.
Come, right.
Next time, right.
Y'all setting it up. Okay. But yet you could find all of these books. I've been in the museums in New York and in London and France. They'd be like, don't touch it, but don't touch what? Oh, you mean nothing? I touch it. The cuneiform tablets. That's our own self-reparations. Go and study these things. They cannot keep it from you. Matter of fact, they're not trying to keep it. They put it in the Bible. It's up to us now. Because once we have done that, then we give a strong foundation for the Reparations Committee so that when they stand up, they don't look like it's just a couple of people asking for some money. No, that's not what this is. They can point to a group of people, a nation of people, saying, no, we're studying now the original books whether you call it the Bible or not, we're going back to the original records. We're educating our children using these records. And we can make sure that they educate their children with those records. That reparations, once that's in place, then your job easy. With that we say Amun and Namastu. You have been listening to the True Light Fellowship Hour, brought to you by the Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah, Journey Home Group International, and our advertising partners, of whom we are very thankful. We are located at number 72 Meadow Street in historic Baintown and led in the Bahamas by Pastor Dr. Cleveland W. Eneas III, also known as Ka-Hun, Anku Sa Ra. If this message has been a blessing to you today, and you feel it in your heart to assist us in bringing forth this weekly message by way of advertising or otherwise, or you wish a copy of this message, we ask that you please contact us at 242-426-1148 or email us at qubticrevealer@gmail.com. That's QUBTIC revealer@gmail.com, or on Facebook, the Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah Journey Home Group International, Bahamas Branch. We bow to the divinity in each and every one of you by saying, Namastu.
Eluti mingi ngana kuku kateo.